Hello. Hello, everyone. Hi. Hi, and welcome to this, which is the final official workshop for this week. Thank you so much for being here. It's going to be a session that is really personal, and it's going to be a session that I hope will help you feel connected to this community, to yourself, and to nature. And so I hope that we can all go down to the chat and put something in there, introduce yourself, say where you're from, and then say something that you're grateful for about in nature. At the moment, I'm really grateful for clouds. I've been cloud watching a lot lately, and there has been some amazing clouds, and I'm really grateful for that and learning about clouds. So pop something you're grateful for down in the chat and where you're from. We'll just take a few minutes to do that while people are coming in. Some people from California. Hi, Uvea. It's so nice to see you all. Grateful for the sun, the birds, the sunshine. Hi, everyone. Someone from Ireland is here, someone from Germany. It's so nice to have this amazing international group coming together. It's amazing that I can be here in Australia and you can be out there across the world sharing these gratitudes. Thank you so much for sharing. I am going to first introduce Melinda. Melinda, you will know by now, she did an amazing session this morning. Melinda is going to help us today with questions. Melinda, do you want to say hi?
Second. Hello. Wait, unmute. Hello, everyone. If you have any questions, pop them into the chat. If you're having trouble with any technology, Brian Higginbotham is also here. So there's two of us on the team supporting Beth and today. Just really looking forward to a beautiful closing on International Nature Journaling Week.
Thanks, Melinda. Thank you, Brian, for being here. So I am going to share my screen with you and we'll get started. Okay. Can you see that, Melinda?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So this session is called Mindful Nature Journaling for Connection and Self-Care. And as I said, this is a really personal thing, and I'll tell you why in a minute. First, I want to say that my name's Beth and Vernon, and I am a nature journal teacher. And a couple of years ago, I had this idea to start International Nature Journaling Week, and I reached out to Jules Wolford, who's here. She's up late. She's in England, and she helped me bring this to life, and it has just been the most amazing blessing. And as part of last year's event, which was the first event we had, we curated a blog, and the blog was people from around the world, just like you, writing what nature journaling means to them, how they do it, what they get from it. And this blog was just so inspirational that after the week was ended, I felt like, how can we go deeper into these amazing stories? And so the idea that came to me then was to start a podcast. And so this is the logo for my podcast, which is all about nature journaling. It's called Journaling with Nature, and you can find it anywhere that you listen to podcasts. If you type in Journaling with Nature, or you can find it on my website, which is journalingwithnature.com. And each week I put out a podcast every Monday, and each week, I'm speaking with nature journalists from all around who go into all the details about their nature journaling practice, what it means to them. It's very heart-filled, and yeah, tune in sometime if podcasts are something you enjoy. So this is where it gets personal. So I wanted to tell you a little story about myself and how I came to nature journaling. So I have had a chronic illness for a really long time. I've never had good health since I was a teenager. And when I was in my early 20s, I became very, very ill. And I spent about a decade lost in this awful place where I didn't know what was wrong. I knew something that was very wrong with my body. I was chronically fatigued. I had all sorts of things going on, but I didn't know what they were. And I went from doctor to doctor trying to find out. And if you've ever had a mysterious chronic illness, you'll understand this story, which is that you go from a doctor to doctor, they do tests, regular tests. No, you're fine. And I wasn't fine at all. And I came to the point in about 2011, 2012, where I was completely debilitated by this illness. And I was bedbound a lot of the time. Sometimes I was able to step outside, and sometimes I just wasn't. Sometimes I was just in my bed, but I could go out into the backyard some days. And I started sitting with what's there in nature in my backyard, and then I started writing it down, and then I started sketching, and I realized that this practice of connecting mindfully in the moment and putting what I was experiencing down on paper was calming me. It was helping me in so many ways. And it was a mindfulness practice without the pressure. And so at this time, when you have a chronic illness, can be very, very difficult on your mental health as well. And I was suffering from a lot of anxiety, and I was suffering from a lot of depression. And when you have anxiety, meditation is really unhelpful. People used to say, you need a mindfulness practice, you need to meditate. But when you have anxiety, when you're going through trauma, I was going through a big, like reliving some trauma that happened to me. And when you're in trauma, meditation is not helpful. And so you sit down to meditate, you think, I'm going to do something good for myself, and it's straight away you're too close to your mind. It's not helpful. And so I found that nature journaling, this practice of sitting outside, looking around me, it was a way of being mindful. It was a way of connecting. It was a way of connecting with the present moment without the pressure of being with my mind, being too close to my mind in meditation. And so around that same time, I found a doctor that could really understand what was going on for my health. And I started to make slow climb upward. I had been going on this terrible spiral downward to the point where sometimes I'd walk to the letterbox and then I couldn't get back up the stairs, and I had to be carried up the stairs. It was very, very difficult time. But this practice of mindfulness in nature with my nature journal, it started me on the upward spiral. And I just can't, it's such an important part of my health improvement that it's hard for me to speak about it because it is so important and so moving. And so that's my story. That's how I came to this. And so I teach nature journaling now, and I teach it in a way to say, like, whatever reason you want to do this is fine. You can do it to document what's in your journal, in your garden. You can do it for citizen science. You can do it for all these different reasons. But for me, I do it for self-care. It's so important to me for self-care, and that's what I want to talk about today. So that's my story. So mindful nature journaling, these are the things that I was brainstorming about, and I'll just go through them. So as I said, to me, it brings calm and focus, and that was so important to me when I was suffering. So my illness is to do with the autonomic nervous system, and when you have anything to do with the nervous system, it can get really, really dialed up really easily. You can get very, very sensitive to stress. And so dialing it down, it helps calm, it helps focus, and it settles the nervous system. And I wanted to talk a little bit about this because our bodies are designed for nature. We came from nature, and our bodies are designed to hear bird sound and to have sun on our skin and to be connected with the rhythm of day and night and light and dark and the seasons. Our bodies are designed for this. And in a way, we in the modern world have stepped out of this, and we're surrounded by technology, and we're surrounded by alarm clocks, and we have this level of unprecedented stress that we haven't had before. And so stepping into nature, it helps us connect back with what our bodies are designed for. And that's why connecting with nature journaling mindfully is just so healthy and so good. There's this thing in Japan called forest bathing, and maybe you've heard of it. It is it's recognized medically that when we're in nature, our nervous systems calm down, our blood pressure goes down, our heart rate goes down, and we are actually seeing physiological changes. And so now in Japan, doctors actually prescribe forest bathing as a way of increasing health. And that just shows that, yeah, that our bodies are designed to be in nature, and that's why they're responding in this beautiful way when we're in nature. So even 5 minutes of connecting with nature like this is going to be so good for the body, so good for the nervous system. Another one, it reminds us to live in gratitude. And I'll talk more about gratitude soon, but gratitude is something that is so, so good for the heart. And if we can live in that place of gratitude, we are going to be happier and healthier. It brings connection to nature and to ourselves. So when we are spending time nature journaling, we can feel this connection. And that goes on to the next one. It reduces loneliness. And this might sound funny, but we are part of this incredible web of life. And it's easy to think of ourselves as separate from nature, but we're not. We're part of it. We are nature. We are actually walking nature. We carry nature inside of us. We are it. We're part of the animals and the plants and the fungi and all the things that are alive on this earth are part of this network that we're part of. And in fact, if you think back in evolutionary history, everything that's alive today is a relative of ours. And so how can we be lonely when we have all our relatives around us? How can we be lonely when we are connected to this beautiful, beautiful network, this web of life that we're part of? And I wanted to tell you a little story, something that came to me during the first lockdown for the pandemic. There was so much turmoil in the world, and people were feeling a lot of things. People were suffering a lot. People were losing friends and family. And when I stepped outside, nature was the same. Nature had continued. And it came to me then that nature is this beautiful, solid thing that's still there. Through all the turmoil, through whatever's going on, the bees are still visiting flowers, the ants are still taking morsels home to their nest. And I invite you to think about that when things are in turmoil, or when you're feeling a bit lost or you need some connection, that our lives can be in turmoil and nature is still there. It's something solid that's beside us all the time. And I think that's really special. And it made me feel safe when I was thinking of that. It made me feel that there's something solid, even when everything around us feels like it's in turmoil. And it reminds us that we are alive. So I don't know if you think about this very often, but it comes to my mind all the time that we have won the most incredible lottery to be alive. The likelihood of us being alive is so minuscule that you can't even imagine it. And when you think of it like that, it's easy for us to get caught up in like bill paying and toddler tantrums or whatever it is. It's easy to think that this is it. But when we remember that we're here just for this moment, just for this short lifetime, we get the chance to be here. And remembering that is in itself the most incredible, unlikely, amazing lottery win is a good way to live. And I feel that connecting with nature reminds me of that. It reminds me that I'm alive and that's very, very precious. So when mindful nature journaling, here's a few things we can do. Let your body connect with the earth. And so by this, I mean, take your shoes off and wiggle your toes in the grass and touch things and let the body actually physically connect with nature. And this helps us drop down into the present moment and into the body. When we're going through something that can feel out of control, it's often because we're in the head. But when we let our bodies connect with the earth, it helps us drop down from the head and into the body. And that's really, really positive. Let the mind be in the present moment. And this is easy to say and not easy to do sometimes, especially when you're going through something. But as much as you can, gently bring it back. So when meditating, the goal is not to block out everything. The goal is to remember to come back. And so we can do that when we're nature journaling in a mindful way. Let the mind be in the present moment as much as you can. And when it wanders, say, oh, you've wandered, and bring it back again and again and again. It doesn't have to be forced, and you don't have to judge it when the mind wanders, but as much as you can, bring it back. Leave the phone behind. I probably don't even have to say why about that. We all know what the phones do to us. They can distract. And I have actually found myself, I take my phone sometimes to snap photos and then I'll be on it. Oh, I need to look up this bird on some app or something. And it takes me away from the present moment. What next? If you can't find nature, find your own body. And so I just want to remind you that we are walking nature. Sometimes, especially in these times of lockdown, we might not be able to connect with nature. You might not be able to go to the park. But your body is here. Your body is the most incredible miracle. And you can nature journal your hands. You can nature journal your breath. You can nature journal anything about your own body, and your body is part of nature. And the last one on this list, notice your feelings without judgment. So you might have feelings like, what is this about? Or I'm feeling cold, or I want to go home, or whatever it is. And you can just notice those feelings and not judge them. Often we have these feelings inside us that we might label as negative or want to push aside. And the thing about mindfulness is that we can notice and acknowledge feelings and just let them be. And and you'll see that they move like the clouds. You know, something will come in and you acknowledge it without judgment and just let it flow past. So mindful nature journaling prompts, there's a few things that I'd love to talk about. The first one is gratitude for nature. And this is so important to me. I think gratitude is a practice that is so beneficial for health and mental health. And I want to go back to when I was ill and tell you a little story about that, about gratitude. So I came across this website, and a lady called Hayley Bartholomew, and she's an Australian lady, and she had done this exercise that she called 365 Grateful. And what she did was she took a Polaroid photo every day of something she was grateful for 365 days. And she found that it changed her life. It changed the way she felt. And I, at that time, really needed something to change the way I felt, because I was deep in anxiety and depression. And so I started, this website was wonderful and inspiring, and Melinda's going to put a link to it so you can have a look. But so I started doing what Hayley did, and I started taking photos of something I was grateful every day. And it really helped me. And I did it for a while, maybe a month, and I did feel a really big benefit. And then I felt like taking photos, it wasn't quite right for me, taking a photo. Sometimes I couldn't get out to take a photo. And so what I started to do was write down something on a little scrap of paper. And I actually have the envelope of these little scraps of paper, and I know that I'm little on the screen right now, but this is the envelope, and it's bulging with gratitudes that I wrote down when I was unwell. And I started writing on these little scraps of paper, and I got a needle and thread, and I threaded them onto a very long string. And I hung this on the curtain railing next to my bed, because I was in bed a lot at this time. And sometimes I would feel like, I felt like my life was passing me by, and everyone else was having their life and having careers and having babies and all that stuff. And I was just in my bed. But I had this string of joys, and it was growing every day. Every day I would thread a new joy on there. And it just got longer and longer and longer. And each thing on there was one little joy, one little piece of gratitude that I had. And it helped. It helped so much to see that growing string of things to be grateful for. And last night I was looking through them, and I just wanted to read a few of them. I've got some here, and a lot of them are about nature. And I invite you to think about things that you're grateful for in nature, and just write them down in your nature journal. It's such a lovely practice. And I'm going to read a couple of these. This is from the 4th of the 7th, 2012. Wattle flowers blooming on the side of the road, lemony yellow against the pale green of freshly emerged leaves. The fullness of the blossoms create a fullness inside of me. And there's a couple more. 30th of the 7th, 2012. This was a really challenging year for me, and gratitude helped so much. Being outside in the cool afternoon air, my hands in the dirt, caring for my plants and imagining what could be. And there's one more, and this is from a trip that we took to Tasmania. I went down to Tasmania, and we were staying beside a beach, 6th of the 8th, 2012. Having rested in the morning, my body needed some movement. I found a track down to the beach and explored a little. The wind, savage, tried to whip off my hat. I found seaweed, shells, and bright red anemones. I was filled to brimming with the gifts that I found there, the sights and the smells and the feeling of gratitude in my open heart. So I just wanted to share that, to say gratitude for nature is something so powerful. So the next thing on the list of nature journal prompts that you can use for mindful nature journaling is beginner's mind. Beginner's mind is a Zen Buddhist concept where you look at something as if you haven't seen it before, even if it's something that you know very well. And it's an attitude of openness, an attitude of eagerness to understand something in a new way without preconceptions. And I think that we do this very well as a nature journal community, because nature journaling helps us look at things in a new way that we might be very familiar with. You know, when we're in lockdown, some of us did nature journaling in the refrigerator, and I did a page where I was looking at broccoli and cauliflower under a microscope. And I think beginner's mind is a lovely practice and a lovely way to drop into mindful nature journaling. The next one on the list, the beauty break. And I learned this from John Muir-Laws, and I interviewed Jack on my podcast, and he told me during our conversation about the beauty break. And so the beauty break is when you're anywhere. You can be with yourself or you can be with someone else. You say to yourself or you say to your partner, beauty break. And in that moment, you have to look around and find something that's beautiful. And this is such a wonderful practice, because you're going to start to notice that you can find beauty anywhere. You might be at the dentist, or you might be in a car park. And when you start to look, you can find beauty anywhere. And in nature, it will be easy. You can look at the sky, or you can look at the plants, and you're going to find something beautiful. But just that practice of taking a beauty break, it trains the mind, it trains the heart to recognize that beauty is everywhere. The next on the list is it makes me feel. And this is a prompt from Paula Peters, who's an amazing Australian nature journal teacher. And she uses Jack's prompts, I notice, I wonder, it reminds me of, and she adds a fourth one. And the fourth prompt that Paula adds is it makes me feel. And you can use this prompt to start to look inward, feel what you're feeling. And I think it's a lovely addition to the triad. I notice, I wonder, it reminds me of, it makes me feel. The next one is seeing drawing. And I want to share something with you. So I've got some resources to share, some books that you might love. And I'm going to read from one of them right now. So this is a book called The Zen of Seeing Drawing as Meditation. And the author is Frederick Frank. And this book, I'll share with you on my document camera a little bit later, but it's completely handwritten, the entire book, not a script that looks like handwriting, but actually handwritten. And Frederick Frank does this amazing thing called seeing drawing. And I'm just going to read his description of it because it's so, so beautiful. So he says that we need to sit down, find something to engage with, something to respond to. It might be a flower or it might be a stone, whatever it is, and just sit for a little minute, sit with it. Close your eyes. And then when you open your eyes, I'm going to read from what he says right here in the book. Now open your eyes and focus on whatever you observed before, that plant or leaf or dandelion. Look it in the eye until you feel it looking back at you. Feel that you are alone with it on earth, that it is the most important thing in the universe, that it contains all the riddles of life and death. It does. You're no longer looking, you're seeing. Now take your pencil loosely in your hand, and while you keep your eyes focused, allow the pencil to follow on the paper what the eye perceives. Feel as if with the point of your pencil, you're caressing the contours, the whole circumference of that leaf, that sprig of grass. Just let your hand move. Don't check what gets onto the paper. It doesn't matter at all. If your pencil runs off the paper, that's fine too. You can always start again. Only don't let your eye wander from what you're seeing, and don't lift your pencil from the paper. And above all, don't try too hard. Don't think about what you're drawing. Just let the hand flow Follow what the eye sees. Let it caress. So that is seeing drawing. And I think it's such a beautiful thing for us to do when we're nature journaling. So connecting with that thing that you're looking at and letting it be the only thing that exists on earth in that moment and connect with it in that way. So the next thing on my list, and this is actually what we're going to do today, is sensory awareness, or another way to do it is a sensory countdown. So we are going to do a sensory countdown together, and I'll explain a little more about that in a minute. So these are some resources. The Zen of Seeing is that book that I was just reading from. Mindfulness and the Natural World by Claire Thompson is a beautiful exploration of how we can be connected with nature. The Wild Remedy by Emma Mitchell is amazing. So Emma Mitchell has suffered from depression for many, many years, and she uses nature as part of her treatment. So if depression has been an issue for you, that might be a really nice book. She explains a lot about it. And The Wild Journal, A Year of Nurturing Yourself Through Nature by Willow Crossley. It's a really nice book. It's a year of things you can do to connect mindfully with nature. Just a lovely book. So I'm going to go out of here. And now we are going to do some mindful nature journaling. So the first thing I want to do with you is explain a sensory countdown. So a sensory countdown is looking at, we start with 5 things that we can see, and then we go to 4 things that we can feel, 3 things we can hear, 2 things we can smell, and 1 thing that we can taste. And this is a lovely way of connecting with nature and the senses. The senses is a really good way of dropping down into the moment. So I have recorded myself doing a sensory walk, a sensory countdown. And what I want to do, I'm going to play the video, and I want you to see if you can drop into the moment, drop into a place where you're connected with what you're seeing. I hope to share some beautiful things around me, and see if you can just drop into the moment and enjoy the process of seeing, feeling, hearing, smelling, and tasting nature. So I'm going to share my screen now. Melinda, does that look good? Is that coming up?
Yeah. Did you make sure you click the sound and video quality?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, let's go. So this is my backyard. Very lucky to have a beautiful place at the back of my house. The video is a little bumpy here because of my camera skills, but we're going to take a walk together. This is a little grove with fig trees and pine trees. And this is a pond which is very, very close to my house. And these are paperbark trees. And sitting with this water, sitting with these trees is a very, very lovely way to spend time. So you can hear the birds. I saw this little sprig of leaves just there, blowing in the breeze, and it really caught my attention. I was looking at the speckled leaves, and the way that the leaves at the far end of it gently, very soft. It's blowing there. We're going to do 5 things that I can see. I saw these teeny tiny little mushrooms. I got right down close to the earth, And this little group of mushrooms that were so small, but so many of them. This is the nuts of the callistemon, a bottle brush. Flowers have gone and hardened into this. These little knobbly things got down, and I could see these beautiful flowers. I think they're oxalis. And I noticed the color, noticed the shape. The way that they were sort of tucked up in there. And this little seed case, I'm not exactly sure what it is, but it just reminded me of some sort of dancer. I loved the way it looked a different shape depending on how I was moving. And I found this beautiful little dragonfly sitting there. It didn't mind my presence. It was just blowing in the wind. I noticed its pale blue, the big black eyes, and the wing straight out. I loved this moment with this dragonfly. It was so special. I looked at it from a different angle and I could see the wings, lacy wings, held out like that in the body. I wondered, little dragonflies do? Dragonflies special moment. And then we moved to 4 things that I could, and I touched this trunk and it was rough. And there was so much texture and thick grooves in the trunk. It felt hard and rough under my hand. And I took a moment to touch the water. It was cool. There was a lot of spongy there. I pressed my hand in. And it felt gentle in my hand. It fell onto my foot. And this is a weed, but it's a beautiful weed. And this is the flower. And this is the seed. And the seed carried. And after this, I came away covered in leaves, and that's it's just thick to you. But when I was touching it, it felt furry, and also when I rubbed my thumb along, I felt those. Which one has a seed? I got right down to the ground and I looked at this moss. I ran my fingers over the moss. And I was able to press my fingers into the moss. It felt wet, cool, and soft textured all at the same time.
Bethan, your audio is crackling a little bit. Do you think you can lean in closer to where your microphone is?
And now, does that sound better? Perfect. And this, I noticed when I was walking that there were these insects in the grass. And they were making a buzzing sound, so I walked a little to try and stir them up. This is the paper bark. and I could hear the scratchy sound when I pulled the paper bark away from the trunk. Hear the rough sound of it. Reminded me of the crackling of a fire. And when I walked, I could hear the crunching of the leaves and the twigs beneath my feet. And then I thought about two things that I can smell. And if you know me, you'll know that I'm obsessed with eucalyptus leaves. It's my favorite thing to nature journal. And eucalyptus has such a unique smell. And when you crush a eucalyptus leaf, it releases the oils and releases the smell. Such a unique thing. And it reminds me of childhood. It reminds me of home and heart. And this is something that's really important to me. It's pine needles, the smell of pine needles. When I was a young girl, I had this experience where I was in a pine forest by myself, and the scent of pine needles sent me into this place where I was connected with everything. It was the most incredible moment. And so whenever I smell pine needles, it brings me back to that connection with everything that I felt as a girl. And then one thing I can taste, and it made me smile because last year I did a video for International Nature Journaling Week where I was tasting something, and it was actually this plant. Maybe it's because it's the only thing I know how to safely taste. It's a weed, but it's very, very healthful. And it's got a tangy taste. And this is the pond. And what I want to do here, this little video clip goes for just a few minutes. And we're going to do some actual nature journaling with the document camera. But for now, I want us to drop into a place of noticing this little pond. And just for the rest of the video, for the next few minutes, I want you to take up your pen and do some sketching if you want to, or just see what you notice. Connect with this landscape. I'm going to draw a little landscapeito. And you can do the same, or you can just watch and feel and experience this pond. Remember, if you're sketching, to not worry about anything, like any of the marks. We're just feeling, we're just seeing drawing. Quality of a drawing is not important. I love the reflections in this pond, the trees and the colors, the way the lily pads sit there on the top. Sometimes I see a snake drop into the water in this place, or a water dragon, which is a lizard that we have here, or a turtle. Sometimes ducks will fly down and land on the pond right in front of me while I'm sitting there. The scent of this place is so important to me, so familiar. The sense of smell is something we don't pay a lot of attention to sometimes, but it's such a beautiful and connective sense, and it can be really connected with memory. You might have noticed that when you recall it, when you brought a scent that was familiar, like a perfume from your mum in childhood or something like that, the sense of smell can really take us back. In this paperbark area, something about the trees leaves tannin in the water, and the water is quite brown, but it's not dirty. It's just full of tannin. I love the way I feel when I'm in this place. I love the way the brown and the greens mix in the shadows and the reflections on the water. And the sounds of nature. These sounds are so important to me. They connect me to my home. So that's the end of that. And what I want to do now is go back together and share some nature journaling. So what I'm going to do is go back to my video, and I'm just going to pause it at certain points, and we can just nature journal together in a mindful way. And so what I want you to do is remember to be in that place. Think of Frederick Frank's words about seeing drawing. Let your pen caress the edges of what you're seeing. Let yourself be playful. Let yourself be in that place where nothing else exists, just what you're seeing, just your pen and what you're looking at. So I'm going to share my screen again. And this time I'm going to share my desktop, and I'm going to get rid of that. And this is my document camera. You can see my brushes. You can see my little, that's my 2-minute landscapito of that little, of the pond, that beautiful pond that means so much to me. And here, Melinda, can you see the video and the document camera?
Yeah.
Great. So let's start off with this little crop of mushrooms. I'm going to do some sketching, and I invite you to sketch along if you want to.
Beth, and the little control bar for on the mushroom video is showing. So here we go. Better. And then click on the document camera, the visualizer. There you go.
Does that look better?
Yep, perfect.
Okay, great. So here is my hands, here's my pen, here's my mushrooms. Let's go. Let's just do some mindful nature journaling together. So I'm going to just randomly place them on the page. I'm not thinking about anything about making a pretty picture. That's the last thing we want to do today. I'm just going to do some seeing drawing. I'm going to caress the edges of this little mushroom. I'm doing the one in the center. And I'm looking at the color of it, and I'm looking at the shape and the curves and the way that these little, what do you call that? These little folds come in and how it connects with the soil. And it's so dark here in the soil. This little family of mushrooms growing up out of the soil. I'm going to draw some other ones here next to it. My eye is caressing the side of these mushrooms. And I can hear birds outside of my window right now, reminding me that nature's just doing its thing, just carrying on, no matter what I'm doing. If I'm with you, if I'm worrying about tomorrow, nature is still here. Nature is still just doing its thing. It's comforting. To me, that's really comforting. So I am going to move my palette here so you can see it. Oops. I'm going to try and mix up this color. I love color mixing and I'm a little crazy for it. I also love to do color swatches. I always do little swatches next to my color to check it. Adding this color here, it's a little bit lighter in the middle. Another way to mindfully nature journal is to go out and notice color. Just notice what colors you see around you and capture that. One way to do it is to not even draw anything, just draw a whole lot of different color swatches representing what you're seeing. You might put something down that represents the sky or the color of a mushroom, the color of the grass. I love, one of my favorite things to do is test myself to see how many different shades of green I can find, because we trick ourselves into thinking like there's green is green, but no, there's so many different types of green. And one really fun mindful activity is to just notice green. Or one activity that Melinda shared with me, which I absolutely love, is to just grab a random pencil, any pencil out of your pencil box and go for a walk and see if you can match that color in what you find. And that's a wonderful way to be mindful, because your eyes are open, your senses are open, looking for your color. I love the activity of trying to name colors using names that aren't just green, like to get more specific with color. And I did a nature journaling workshop the other day, and one of the participants wrote down russet, his leaf. He used the word russet to describe the color of his leaf, and I thought that was such a great descriptive word. Things like that deepen our understanding of color and our understanding of nature. So I'm going to move along a little in this video and see what else we can see. There's a lot to journal, but let's choose this little oxalis flower. So I'm going to start by, and I'm just going to randomly place them on my page. I'm not fussing. This is just an exercise in mindfulness, an exercise in seeing drawing and being together. It was my hope with International Nature Journaling Week that it didn't feel like classes. It didn't feel like a teacher teaching you something, that it felt more like two people hanging together or just an opportunity to share. And I hope that that's come across. I feel like very lucky that you're here with me and that we're taking this time together, and it doesn't feel in any way like a class, just some time together, just some time to connect with this amazing community. I've been so amazed by what's been shared this week, and just so honored that you're here, that you take time out of your day to be here, and that we can share this special connection together. I'm just going along these petals. I love the way they overlap. And I just noticed something which is making me smile. It's this tiny little bud that's below them. Oh, little bud, look at you. A little bud ready to open. These things are everywhere for us to notice, and how precious to notice a bud or the color of something. It is in itself a way of honoring nature, honoring what we see. Now I'm mixing up a color to match this oxalis flower. It's not quite right, but it's okay, because we're not judging anything today. I'm going to fill this in. I'm not going to worry that it's not perfect. When I was preparing this sensory walk for you, I was feeling so stressed when I went out. I was feeling really overwhelmed with everything that I had to get done. And after I had filmed these things, I felt so relaxed. And right before I came onto this call, I was feeling quite stressed. I didn't know how it was going to go. And right now I feel relaxed, just being with you and being with nature. And I love the way that we can be with nature, even here through a video. I'm adding a little green in the center here. We can be connecting with nature on a video, and still it has the physiological effects of relaxing us and connecting us. And that's just so special. I'm going to leave the rest of those. Let's do a few more. Oh, I want to do this with you because this thing pleased me so much. I love the shape of it. Let's do a couple of iterations of this because I just love the shape. And maybe I won't paint it. Maybe I'll just draw it in a couple of different directions. But I just love how it feels like it's dancing. And this is, Frederick Frank talked about caressing the edges of something. This is, I feel like I'm sliding down a slide when I'm going down here. I have a real fondness for drawing curling things. I love the way this feels to sketch, like a slide. It's going to overlap with my little mushroom there. That's okay. I'm not judging my drawing. And it's got these interesting things coming down here. different patterns on the outside of this seed. And something, I love noticing all the details, like the outlines of things and the color. This is very dark under here, so I'll do a bit of hatching. And then maybe we can move this just a little bit and see what this seed dancer does. Look, it feels like its arm is up. It feels like a dancer to me. And so I'm going to draw this again in a different place. Coming down, caressing this dancer's arms that are up. Or an angel's wing. That just reminded me of an angel's wing. Look how it curls around. Oh my goodness. I'm totally out of proportion, and it doesn't matter because I just had a lovely sensation of going around that curve. This angel's wing. I'm going to write angel's wing. I'm going to put some hatching under here. And this has got these patterns here. I love this so much. Let's do a couple more. Should we do this dragonfly? Where can I put you, little dragonfly? Let's do it here. Look at these eyes. They're so amazing. So I crouched down. I was actually pulling these burrs off my stockings, and my eyes tuned in. And oh, this is something I love doing, which is that sometimes you get this feeling like you're looking at something and then suddenly your eyes tune into it and you realize that there's an animal there. And I love that so much. And I did that with this dragonfly. I was just sitting there pulling burrs off my stockings, and suddenly there was life, and it was this gorgeous little creature just going about its day, just sitting here on this sticky plant. So I was talking about my illness, and it's very well managed now. My life is completely different from how it was, but I still have to be aware of it, and I still have to. So I wear compression stockings every day because part of my illness is a problem where the brain and the heart don't communicate properly, and so my blood pools in my legs, and I get very dizzy and very tired. And so I have to wear compression stockings every day, which isn't much fun in the Brisbane summer, but it's okay. And it means that I can live a different kind of life than what I was living before. But I was wearing compression stockings, as I do every day. I was wearing them when I was filming this for you, and these little sticky things, oh my gosh, they were all over my stockings. And I had to sit for a while and take them all off. I've noticed on dragonflies' wings, they often have these little black marks up there. I don't know why, but I've noticed it quite often. And these wings that they hold out. Dragonflies have the most incredible life cycle. If you've seen a dragonfly larvae, you will know what I'm talking about. They're very scary little creatures. They have this mandible that is like that, and then it comes out like some crazy horror movie to eat its prey. They're aquatic in their larval, in their juvenile stage, and it is enough to scare you. And then they come out into these beautiful creatures. Dragonflies are so special. I was very, very lucky and happy to see this guy. And I've drawn this too small here. And these little barbs on his legs I hadn't noticed before. I love the way that the pen makes a scratching sound on the page sometimes. And I'm going to put a teeny bit of paint on here because I want to capture the blue of his eye. There's a reflection, like a shiny section of his eye. And it's almost fading to grey. I'm not going to colour him all in. I just wanted to capture that eye. And maybe a little bit of green here to indicate that he's on something that's green. This is what we can do. We don't have to be making everything perfect. We can just dab on some green to show that that's green. It doesn't have to be perfect. And I love Claire Walker Leslie's drawings for this reason, because she just captures things with so much joy, and they're very often very quick. So let's do just a couple more and then we'll have some questions, or maybe one more. When you're doing this nature journaling with the senses, you might find that what you see is easy to represent and the other ones are a bit harder. And that's where the wonderful thing comes in of the words, pictures, and numbers. So the things that we see, the 5 things that we see, it can be easy to put down with pictures. And sometimes a smell, like how do you put a smell down? And that's where words would come in. And numbers, you can say, I heard 2 kookaburras calling. You know, you can bring in words and pictures in that way, and that can be helpful. What else have we got? Let's do one more. Let's do a eucalyptus leaf because I love them so much. Just a couple more minutes and then we'll do questions. Okay. So I love this leaf because it's got lots of imperfections. Well, I shouldn't say imperfections, should I? That's a judgment. It's got lots of different bite marks. It's got lots of speckles, different colors. I'm letting my pen follow the contours of it. I love eucalyptus leaves because they're so unique. I have a tree very close to my front door, and I go out often and just pick up different eucalyptus leaves, and they each are different, even from the same tree. Even if they're the same color, you think that they're the same color initially, they are all different. I'm just adding a few little spots here and there. Things eat them. Often they have galls on them. And I'm going to add just a wee bit of color. So I noticed that to mix a really nice eucalyptus green. I start with any sort of green, and I can add a touch of the opposite on the color wheel, which is any sort of red, and I come to something similar to a eucalyptus color. And this is one of my favorite colors. So I'm not trying to capture it in any way apart from touching the feeling that I'm feeling right now. And I can see it, a little blush of peach, some sort of peach color on the upper side. Add that there. And that's enough. A little moment with the eucalyptus leaf. And these little creatures that I came across on my sensory walk. So I'm going to stop sharing now. And I'd like to invite you to ask questions if you want to. And if not, share something. And if not, let's just see what happens. Melinda, are there any questions?
There aren't. I think everyone was so entranced and engrossed and meditatively mindful in watching you and listening to you and journaling ourselves.
That's good. Would anyone like to share a page or a thought about mindful nature journaling? And if you don't want to share right now, that's okay. I'd like to invite you to message me anytime if you feel like chatting about nature journaling.
I think I saw someone holding their journal up, but she put it down, so I don't know who it was. Carol, can we close in, not close in, spotlight you so that we can see your picture more, and I'm going to allow you to unmute yourself. So let's see here. You can unmute to speak if you like.
Hi.
Hi, I'd just like to thank you. I think that was a lovely, beautiful way to share an experience. And there's my very rough drawing there, so perfect. I'll mute again.
Thank you for sharing. Oh, I feel relaxed. I don't know about you, but I feel relaxed.
I certainly do. I noticed when I was drawing just now, the pace at which you were modeling for us, I think, was really valuable. Oftentimes I'm much quicker. And so when I'm journaling, even if it's a blind contour, my natural pace tends to be faster. And so really dialing it down and slowing down intentionally was really soothing to my nervous system. And it's so interesting how just that little shift can make a huge difference. And I started to hear the scratch of my pen. I heard the water tinkling when you put your brush in. I felt the surface of the paper underneath my fountain pen. And what I recognized is it can still be a sensory nature journal experience, even if you're not outside, because you're still using that sense of hearing and feeling, and even the touching and feeling in your heart of what it feels like, and the joy. I love the way that you modeled your discoveries of joy in the little tiny flower buds or the little creases in the mushroom, and you're showing us a way to be present with nature that in our culture we don't usually do. We don't slow down. I don't know about Australia, but in America, we're very fast paced and we're really quick to click on things and right into text and type and email and all that kind of stuff. So this is really, really such a valuable gift for all of us. So thank you, Beth.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I think we're all very, very fast. And that's why I said at the beginning, leave the phone behind, because the the impulse. I think it's an addiction, you know, that I notice it in myself, that I'll just check this, I'll just check that. And if we have access to the phone, then the addiction pulls us there. And so just to leave that behind and take a moment to be present is very special. Ray Bonto, I'd love to
people. Yep, we got Ray Bonto and Michael who would like to share as well. All right, Ray Bonto, you should be able to unmute.
Yeah.
Hi.
So this is a page from today.
Wow. Can you tell us about it?
Okay. So now I never include words, or hardly. They're just labels because I don't know what to write exactly. Whatever classes come up, but today I decided not to draw any pencil except for the mushrooms.
I love the way you've captured the mushrooms in their environment. You've done the grass and the soil, and I love the way you've captured the dragonfly and the depth of the shadow on the bottom of its abdomen. Wow, thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
Thanks for
the end. Thank you.
All right, and I think Michael, let's see if she is okay. She's holding it. All right, let's spotlight you so we can see. Here we go.
Okay, just quickly following and sticking on a page and just adding the color to me added to the relaxation. And I agree with everyone else who's, especially you're talking about just, it was meditative, your whole session, and the way you talked, and was very, like Melinda said, slow pace. So
I love that. I'm really glad that you connected with that. And I love the way that you've done that little dancing seed pod and captured the curls and the depths of the darks underneath those curls. Thank you so much for sharing and for being here.
Thank you.
Oh, John Muir Laws, we have here.
Hello, Jack.
Hey there. Thank you. Hey, Ray Bonto. I want to thank you so much for that. In everything that you said, just this tenderness and affection for the world around you, it came across just so clearly, and in such an authentic way. I was wondering if you might just give us some words about your thoughts about the role of gratitude in your process, and how to help ourselves find that in ourselves. There's just such it was just I could sense this profound reverence and celebration of every subtlety that really inspired me. And I was just wondering, I'd love to hear your thoughts about gratitude.
Yeah,
and
thank you, Jack.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're so kind. Gratitude is so important to me, and I'd love to talk a little bit about it because it, like I said before, it helps so much in creating a happy life. You know, a grateful heart is a happy heart, I think. And when we do this practice in my family, where each evening at the dinner table, we say one thing that we're grateful for in the day, and just that practice, it makes us happier. And I love watching my 4-year-old create gratitudes. It's so amazing, the things that he's grateful for. But in nature journaling, I feel that it's really connected with, Jack, your definition of love, paying sustained, compassionate attention to something, and gratitude to these things, this act of love. I've said this before, it feels like a prayer. Like when you're when you're present with something, when you're seeing the details, when you're seeing the shadow on the side of a mushroom, to me that's a prayer. I'm not religious, but to me that is what a prayer is from my heart. And I feel like when we pay compassionate attention to nature, sustained compassionate attention leads to this feeling of just fullness inside of us. And it leads to a feeling of just gratefulness for life, gratitude for life, gratitude for this moment, gratitude for our ability to, in whatever way, experience nature. And I feel like gratitude is something we grow. That we've talked a lot this week, in fact, about things that we can grow. We can grow curiosity. You can be intentional with curiosity, and you can. And yesterday we talked about being intentional with like feelings, like paying attention to feelings. There's these things that you can actually grow. And I really feel strongly that gratitude is something that you practice and build. And so the more we pay sustained, compassionate attention to nature, the more we let it in, the more grateful we are just for these tiny, tiny moments. And I think that's what it's about. I think it's about noticing tiny moments, noticing little things, little details. And when you do that, you grow your ability to be grateful. And just doing that practice in the evening, like just saying one thing to be grateful for, that grows your ability to look around and say, yeah, I'm grateful that I got a letter in the mail, because it's so fun to get something in the mail. Or I'm so grateful for, the way that you helped me find my shoes, or, just these little things. They can easily pass us by. But when we start to pay attention to them, gratitude floods in. That's what I think. Gratitude just floods in when you start to pay attention. And that love that we're growing for nature by paying sustained, compassionate attention, it leads to gratitude. Because I'm so grateful for these moments that I can have with a dragonfly on the side of a sticky plant, wow, what an amazing miracle to see that moment. If I hadn't been paying attention, I would have missed it. It would still have been there, but I wouldn't have had that interaction with it. And so the more we pay sustained, compassionate attention, the more we put share our love with nature, the more gratitude floods in. And I think that's the essential thing, that you can build gratitude by sharing with nature, and it just grows and grows. Your ability to be grateful just gets bigger. Thanks for your question, Jack. Melinda, are there any questions? Otherwise,
no, I don't see any more questions. If anyone wants to share, you can wave your hand. Not seeing anybody. Oh, Connie. Connie H. Yeah, let's see, Connie. I'm gonna ask to unmute you. All right, Connie, you're still muted. There you go.
Okay.
Hi, Connie.
Not to be out. Hi there, Beth Ann. First of all, thank you so very, very much. I remember watching you last year doing all those color combinations, and I thought, no way. But it's been a lot of fun through the year. But thank you very much for this year. I just wanted to show you, it was such a peaceful, calming, gentle. I'm a little bit like Melinda. I'm a quick person to get through something, and I just felt the hum of gentleness that pulled me through this series. And I love the 5, the 4, the 3, the 2, the 1. I think that is a really interesting exercise, and I'm going to try that several times and enjoy that. So anyway, it was a beautiful time, and thank you very much. Thank you for this this journaling week. It's been a true blessing for the heart.
You make me want to cry. Thank you. Look at that portrait.
I seem to have a way to do that. Thank you.
Connie, thank you. So the sensory countdown was it's actually it's an activity that people do when you have anxiety. In fact, it's an anxiety relieving technique. And someone recently reminded me of it, and I thought, perfect. It's a perfect thing for mindful nature journaling. Thank you so much for sharing that, Connie. That makes me feel so happy. Well, if there's no more questions, I just want to, I've got a huge heart going on right now. I don't know if you feel that. Sometimes I feel like my heart is like this big, like too big for my chest. And I feel that right now for you all, for being here, for this week of sharing, for this week of interaction with people from all over and learning so much from everybody, every one of you. And I just feel so much gratitude for you, for being here, for sharing this week. I feel full, overflowing with gratitude for everything that has been shared this week. And I just want to say thank you.
Before we sign off, I would like to say something, if this is I want to say a big thank you. I don't think we can thank you enough, Bethan and Jules, who has split their time on the live calls. Each of them were here every single day to be present for the amazing presenters, and just created this space for all of us to be here. And thank you to the team that helps support all the technology, Zoom technology in the background, Brian Higginbotham and Ivea Moore, who were just so helpful and selfless in their volunteering of their time.
And you,
all of us.
Melinda, and you, Melinda, you have given so much time and energy and effort to this, and I appreciate you so much.
Yeah, I heard my daughter went to a actually her kindergarten teacher said to me one time, she used to say it all the time, but she said, many hands make for light work. And I've held that close to my heart for many years now. And I think every time I participate that I remember that every small thing that each of us does makes the whole load lighter for everyone, and it makes it so much more fun. So with that, I also want to say that, for anyone who is still feeling this high of gratitude and appreciation, and you are financially able to help support this cause, we gratefully accept your help. International Nature and Journaling Week has a lot of work that goes into it, and Bethan has put in a lot of her own pocket money to help make everything work. And you don't see what goes in because unless you've done it yourself. And I have not done it myself, but I can see that it takes a lot. And so if you are able to, if not today, then it'll be on the website all year long. If you feel you'd like to, there is a link, and I think I'll have Brian go and copy and put that into the chat while I'm just thanking the whole team and thanking everyone who came. You have made the celebration of Nature Journaling Week so much richer by your participation, your smiles, your kind comments, your sharing, and I know that it's echoed throughout the whole team. So thank you so much, everyone, for all of your time. And it's not over. It's not over. We can continue to stay in contact, right? There's the website, and check out Bethan's podcast. She'll continue to keep all of us posted with more nature journalers from all around the world.
Oh, Melinda, thank you so much. I think Jules wanted to say something. She had her hand up. Jules, are you still there, darling?
I am just here. Just very briefly, I just want to say, I'm sorry, I'm very emotional. That was so wonderful, and I knew it would be amazing, and I'm so glad that I stayed up. I don't have the conscious energy at my advanced age, but I'm still here. But I just want to say, oh my goodness, what I said before when we were chatting before we started, the nature journaling community is just the best, the nicest, the kindest, the most generous people and the most giving people that I think I have ever come across. And I just want to say, I'm going to say just a huge thank you to everybody. You know, I've told you all how I feel and about all the things that you've done, Melinda and Brian and Nivea, our lovely Corinna on Facebook, and all the other people who've given us help, our fantastic presenters all week. I mean, just, well, all completely mind-blowing and wonderful. And our incredible participants, because, you know, without everybody turning up and watching us and using the hashtags, you know, this wouldn't be possible. But especially, I just want to say thank you, Beth and Vernon. I love you. You have changed my life, reaching out to me 2 years ago, and I am so grateful you've given me the opportunity to make all these wonderful connections with people across the world and made me look at my own nature journaling with new eyes. So yeah, thank you so much, everybody.
Oh gosh, this is oh my goodness, I love you all. I don't even know what to say. This is so beautiful. Thank you, everyone, and keep going. This is the beginning. Let's just keep connecting. I genuinely love this community. There's so much compassion, so much care, and let's keep going. Have a beautiful day or night. Jules, go to bed, my darling. Bye, everyone. Take good care. Bye.